Those who had arrested Jesus took him to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and the elders had gathered. But Peter was following him at a distance, as far as the courtyard of the high priest, and going inside, he sat with the guards in order to see how this would end. Now the chief priests and the whole council were looking for false testimony against Jesus, so that they might put him to death. But they found none, though many false witnesses came forward. At last 2 came forward and said, "This fellow said, 'I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days.'" The high priest stood up and said, "Have you no answer? What is it that they testify against you?" But Jesus was silent. Then the high priest said to him, "I put you under oath before the living God. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God." Jesus said to him, "You have said so, but I tell you, from now on you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, "He has blasphemed. Why do we still need witnesses? You have now heard his blasphemy. What do you think?" They answered, "He deserves death." Then they spat in his face and struck him, and some slapped him, saying, "Prophesy to us, you Messiah. Who is it that struck you?"
This is death by stealth, a bona fide case of entrapment from a high priest, chief priests, and a whole council who know they have to change the minds of a crowd who've responded so positively to Jesus' incredible teaching and authority. Now, this is not unusual in an honour-shame society where the tried and tested method to topple someone considered too big for their boots is to get them in the dock, discredit them, dethrone them, destroy their standing, dehumanise them through violence and persecution until they're no longer the person everyone first thought them to be. It starts with Caiaphas firing up the whole council to look for false testimony. But they don't find any. When it eventually comes, there's an irony that what's said is true. It's Jesus' previous statement about the temple that gets him in trouble. "I am able to destroy the temple of God and to rebuild it in 3 days." Matthew may not have recorded those actual words being spoken. We find them in John's Gospel. But those 3 days we're about to experience really are going to change everything. When the high priest challenges Jesus on this statement, Jesus chooses to stay silent. This, of course, is a nod back to Isaiah 53:7. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. It's also enough for the high priest, who takes Jesus' silence in the dock as an admission of guilt, that this silently claimed divine power means that Jesus must consider himself to be the Son of God. Jesus is having none of it, though, highlighting only that they've put this label on him. The prophecy he speaks of immediately afterwards is undeniably a bit cryptic. But there's also no coincidence that it's the same prophecy he used when speaking about the destruction of the temple. Make no mistake, this is King Jesus, albeit the throne he'll soon find himself on will be in the form of a cross. In a situation where justice is hardly the order of the day, there's enough in all of this for them to define his response, or lack of it, as blasphemy. How does this episode end? With religious leaders under the authority of the high priest spitting at Jesus, striking him, mocking him. I've tried to imagine what that would look like today, but I've struggled to imagine what on earth would lead to a situation like this. With all of their laws the chief priests wanted everyone to abide by, you'd have thought there might have been one that prohibited a response like this. And they do it as everyone watches on. The whole council of chief priests, guards, Peter, perhaps other followers too. There is nothing unplanned here by the religious leaders. But take another look at Isaiah 53, and that shows us that there was nothing unplanned here anyway. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Discredited and persecuted, Jesus' journey towards the cross takes another significant step forward.